This podcast is brought to you by Again and Forever.
Welcome back to the AI Analysis Podcast. Did you know that Jake from Down the Middle had an online wrestling show all the way back in 2007? And they've been releasing those episodes little by little on the Down the Middle YouTube channel.
It's true, yeah. And we're digging into one specific episode from that archive today. This one, it first hit the web back in August 2007. So it's this really fascinating time capsule.
Absolutely. And it's more than just a snapshot of the wrestling content from that moment.
Right. It also gives you a feel for online commentary and just the general vibe of these fan shows back then.
So our goal with this exploration really is to pull out those key wrestling events, the characters driving the stories.
And also understand the show's own commentary style. Get a real feel for what was happening in wrestling and on this particular show, late summer '07.
And the source material, right from the jump, it throws some pretty intriguing and honestly kind of chaotic stuff at you.
Yeah, like introducing a new intern, this Johnny Charismo guy.
And a recurring comedy bit starting up, plus one of the main hosts, Joey Holmes, apparently dealing with mandated counseling for alcoholism.
It's a lot, straight out of the gate.
So the episode opens, and it just throws you right into this messy situation. You've got Joey Holmes, Nick, Jake.
And two others this source just calls an Asian intern and Big Bear, all in a room.
And the tension is immediate. It's the others confronting Joey about his drinking.
Right, they're concerned, but Joey, he's just brushing it all off, calls it fun.
Yeah.
Or even a hobby.
He says some really wild stuff according to the transcript, calls himself Hot Stuff Joey Holmes, Out of Order Joe.
And Nick apparently comments on Joey needing a haircut. Just random stuff.
And Joey says he named his glass because he doesn't have kids. It's bizarre.
Total denial. He even tries to flip it, saying smoking pot is the real issue, not the drinking.
Then he asks, almost joking, if just admitting I do have a problem is enough for them to let him do the show.
Which, yeah, unsurprisingly, they say no. He's told flat out, you have a therapist appointment tonight.
So Joey's off to deal with that. And the main show starts with Jake Russell and Nick.
Which leads us right into the new intern, Johnny Charismo.
Yeah, brought in specifically because Joey's indisposed.
And they immediately start joking about his name. Charisma, you know.
Pretty obvious gag, yeah.
There's also that little awkward bit about where he's from. He says Australian.
And one of them asks if he's British, then says, aren't those the same thing? A bit clumsy.
But Johnny, he makes it clear pretty fast. He's ambitious.
Oh, yeah. Wants a promotion, maybe even Joey's job permanently. Thinks his name is nautical and clever somehow.
Right. So, okay, let's get into the actual wrestling talk. They start with the Raw recap.
Johnny Charismo tries to kick it off, but the main hosts kind of take over quickly.
And they jump right into the biggest angle, really. Randy Orton.
Talking about how he KO'd Cena, threw a chair at him at Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, and the commentary in the source even mentions Cena's neck sounding broken, but he was still there.
Yeah.
You got to remember, Orton and Cena were the guys.
Absolutely. Still huge names today. That feud was massive.
Then Vince McMahon comes out, continuing that whole love child story, reveals it's a boy.
And one of the hosts jokes it might be for the best, given Vince's history with women. And there's a mention of Cody Rhodes here, too, which is really interesting looking back.
McMahon then starts insulting Cena's mom, which naturally
leads to Cena slapping Vince. Big moment.
escalates things.
Yeah.
McMahon puts Cena in a match against Snitsky later that night.
And the hosts here have some, let's say, direct comments about Snitsky's looks. Ugly, interesting cheeks, his teeth. Gives you a taste of their humor.
The match finish is key for the storyline. Orton interferes.
Hits Cena with 2 RKOs, his finisher.
Yep. Then stares down the title belt, clearly setting up the SummerSlam challenge against Cena.
Besides that main event feud, they cover some other Raw stuff. A Divas tag match.
Melina and Beth Phoenix versus Michelle McCool and Mickie James. McCool and Mickie James, definitely names people still know.
Right. And Candice Michelle and Mickie apparently got the win there.
William Regal, another name you'll recognize, authority figure, great wrestler. He announced a Divas Battle Royal for SummerSlam.
Which the source notes was the in-ring debut for Extreme Expose, that dance group from ECW. Candice Michelle's name pops up again here, too.
And the recap says the Divas started going apeshit on each other after the announcement. Very technical term.
Huh, yeah. There's also a quick mention of Santino Marella. Great comedy character.
Talking to Rocky Balboa, showing his jealousy, compared to Rocky Balboa.
Then Booker T, absolute legend. He was feuding with Triple H, another icon.
And Booker apparently brought out a fake skinny Triple H. Sounds about right for 2007 wrestling comedy.
They also touch on McMahon and Coachman talking about the sun again, running into Val Venis, Daivari, and Mr. Kennedy. Kennedy was pretty prominent then.
And a match. Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas versus Cody Rhodes. All guys with significant careers, especially Cody now.
Cody won, but then got jumped by Benjamin and Haas after.
And a tag match. Kendrick and London versus Cade and Murdoch. Kendrick and London were a popular high-flying team.
Plus, a crime time segment, stealing hats. That was their gimmick.
Okay, moving away from the main angles for a second, the source highlights this specific date segment, Maria and Ron Simmons.
Yeah, and this is where the original show's hosts actually offered some praise. Said it was good WWE was doing funny skits again.
Suggesting maybe things had been a bit stale before that.
Possibly. Santino shows up again here, too, with Jillian Hall, trying to make Maria jealous.
But the big thing, the running gag, was Ron Simmons just saying, damn.
Right. Waiter asks about vegetables. Damn. Waiter asks about butter. Damn.
Simple but effective. The hosts clearly enjoyed it.
Next up, Carlito's Cabana, his talk show segment. Guest was Umaga.
The Samoan Bulldozer. This leads to a big development for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, Umaga starts off calm, but then Carlito and Mr. Kennedy, also in that title picture, start arguing.
And Umaga just snaps, destroys the whole set. So you've got Carlito, Kennedy, Umaga all mixing it up.
William Regal comes out after the chaos, announces a #1 contenders match, Carlito versus Kennedy, later that night.
That match ends weirdly. A simultaneous pin. Both guys pinned each other.
So Regal's solution, our triple threat match at SummerSlam, Carlito versus Kennedy versus Umaga for the IC title. Sets up a big match for the pay-per-view.
Okay, now ECW. The source says this recap section felt like it was added in later during editing.
Kicks off with an Extreme Rules match. Tommy Dreamer, ECW legend, against Big Daddy V.
Big Daddy V got the win there.
Then there's this kind of throwaway joke suggesting Balls Mahoney, another ECW original, might be McMahon's kid, included a doesn't have balls joke about Vince.
Right. Balls then beat Elijah Burke in a match.
And we see The Miz, big star today, and Kelly Kelly, also very recognizable. Miz is bugging Kelly Kelly.
Asking if she'd date Balls if he had McMahon money. Kelly and Balls apparently just grin at each other.
The original host actually liked the storyline, praised the arc between CM Punk and Kelly Kelly. Mentioned Mike Knox getting beat up for being controlling. Punk and Knox, also relevant names.
Kevin Thorne interview gets interrupted by Stevie Richards. More ECW names?
The main event for that ECW show was announced. The Miz and ECW champ John Morrison versus CM Punk and the Boogeyman.
Miz, Morrison, Punk, Boogeyman, all significant guys from that time. Though the original host apparently wasn't thrilled about Miz being in the main event then.
There's another bit with CM Punk and McMahon about the illegitimate son story, contrasting Punk's straight-edge life with McMahon's partying.
Punk gets a good line in, something about not getting kicked out of his estate because he's straight edge.
And despite the host's surprise, Miz and Morrison's team actually won the main event.
Yeah, and the host finished by asking Punk to bring back the Anaconda Vice submission instead of the GTS finisher.
Okay, let's switch gears to TNA. The source mentions the intro graphic for this was called the Tits and Ass segment.
Yeah, and apparently someone named Peter Pan reacted
God.
to it. Definitely shows the show's informal tone.
Wrestling starts with a mixed tag. Kazarian and Gail Kim versus Robert Roode and Mrs. Brooks. Kaz, Gail, Roode, all big TNA names.
Roode loses, blames Mrs. Brooks, berates her. Kazarian steps in for Gail Kim.
The commentary then asks this really pointed question about celebrities known for getting away with beating women, which is pretty stark.
Yeah, definitely stands out. Then there's Cowboy James Storm hunting Rhino.
Because Rhino supposedly fell off his wagon, led to an Oregon Trail joke. Bit random. Storm and Rhino were key TNA guys, though.
Their Christian Cage sends AJ Styles and Tomko after Samoa Joe backstage.
Christian, AJ, Tomko, Joe, that's like TNA Mount Rushmore stuff right there. The ambush spills into the ring, Joe gets beaten down.
Manager James Mitchell congratulates Abyss on getting a title shot against Kurt Angle at No Surrender.
Abyss and Angle, more TNA legends. Mitchell warns Abyss about a new monster, Judas Mesias.
We also get Ron Killing's R-Truth now, and the NFL player Pac-Man Jones. Spray painting Pac-Go on Eric Young's back. Killings, Pac-Man, Eric Young, all involved in TNA storylines. Team 3D, the Dudley Boys, apologize to the Steiner brothers. Then call themselves the better team. Classic heel stuff.
Legends versus legends. Team 3D, Rick and Scott Steiner. Huge tag teams.
The main event for TNA Impact was Angle versus the Steiners. Team 3D interferes, costs Angle the match.
And the big announcement for the next Impact. Sting versus Christian versus Joe versus AJ four-way match.
Winner becomes Angle's tag partner at No Surrender, stacking the main event scene with top talent.
All right, let's circle back to Joey Holmes and those therapy segments that were sprinkled throughout the original episode.
Yeah, these were something else. Joey's attitude is just completely dismissive, defiant.
Calls the therapist hot stuff, asks if the questions are math problems.
He insists drinking is just a hobby. Claims the fun hobbies make you fall downstairs. It's absurd.
Asks if she has anything to drink, wants a martini in a dry house, calls her an idiot and a loser.
Then he makes this wild claim he hasn't had a drink in 6 years, but her being there is tempting him.
But then there's this brief moment, almost like a flicker of clarity. He says her presence makes the world quiet, something she said made perfect sense.
But it's immediately followed by him saying, I think you solved my problem, and he knows what he's going to do.
Heavily implying he's going straight for a drink.
Yeah. It ends with him saying thank you, then muttering something about drugs or needing a drink. It's a really dark, weird comedy thread.
So for the SmackDown recap, Johnny Charismo steps in again, says explicitly it's because Joey's at therapy.
Starts like Raw, with McMahon and Coach talking about the male love child.
Then Kane comes out. Big red machine. Not interested in money. Just wants Finlay at SummerSlam.
Match made. Kane and Finlay both tough brawlers. The original commentary ironically calls it technically thrilling and a masterpiece. Definitely sarcasm.
The masterpiece, Chris Masters interrupts, puts Kane in the master lock.
Which, as the commentary points out, is just a full Nelson. Not some revolutionary hold he invented. Common fan criticism back then.
Then we get Chavo Guerrero versus Funaki. Chavo seemingly hurts Funaki's leg.
Symbolizing what he did to Rey Mysterio, building their SummerSlam match. Big feud. Chavo versus Rey.
Jamie Noble beats Jimmy Wang Yang, becomes #1 contender for Hornswoggle's cruiserweight title, gives you a snapshot of that division.
Yeah, Hornswoggle as champ was a thing. Then MVP and Matt Hardy, single stars teamed up, are mentioned going for the tag titles, called an odd pairing.
Eugene and Shannon Moore versus Deuce and Domino. Deuce and Domino win. The host comment the show felt unprofessional, pranks happening, part of their vibe maybe.
Then MVP and Matt Hardy in a basketball segment, followed by Deuce and Domino beating them both up, continuing that story.
Mark Henry beats up some kid, world's strongest man. Then an Undertaker vignette airs, hyping his return. Henry and Taker, obviously huge names.
Another Diva Battle Royal mentioned briefly. Building the women's matches for SummerSlam across brands. SmackDown main event discussed. Batista versus the Great Khali, they call him Philly. Ends in no contest. Finlay interferes.
Batista and Khali were in the world title picture. Batista spears Khali in the segment.
Johnny Charismo finishes the recap. Sounds a bit frustrated, but trying to stay professional. Still the ambitious new intern.
The original show also had this regular segment, Memorable Match of the Week.
And for this episode, the match they picked was Rob Van Dam versus Jeff Hardy. Hardcore title match from the Invasion PPV in 2001.
RVD and Jeff Hardy. Two incredibly popular, innovative guys, still beloved today.
And the commentary praised it for having actual wrestling within the hardcore style. Not just weapons, hard hits, chemistry.
Yeah, they really highlighted that aspect. Even recommended buying the RVD One-of-a-Kind DVD specifically for that match. Little plug there.
Then the source brings us back to Johnny Charismo one more time. He's sent to whip the other interns into shape.
Encounters the Asian intern and another one in what he calls a terrible excuse for a break room. There's that weird line about being Asian in that Johnny doesn't get.
Johnny tells them they're doing a horrible job. There's been hostility towards the hosts.
Really plays up his loyalty. We can't have that. We don't turn against Weekly Wrestling Rap. Very earnest. Trying too hard, new guy. So the show wraps up with the original hosts, Jake and Nick.
And Nick tells this absolutely wild story about his third wife leaving him. Something about being caught naked in chocolate sauce at her sister's house.
Just completely out of left field. Shows their specific brand of humor, I guess.
When they talk about Johnny Charismo, they're a bit worried. Think he's coming on a little bit strong.
Yeah, maybe trying to take their jobs. There's that absurd bit about his accent.
And a joke about firing each other to go herd sheep in New Mexico. Just a very strange, unique way to sign off.
And the source notes they use their standard sign-off structure to end the episode.
Okay.
We'll be right back after this word from our sponsor.
Of members of a so-called religious cult with a leader they call Jesus has had 3 of its followers arrested in the investigation of the murder of Sharon Tate and 6 others. Those arrested are 2 women and 1 man, and the Los Angeles police said they would ask murder indictments against several others. 5 women are being held as material witnesses.
So wrapping this up, we've gone through the specific weekly wrestling wrap-up show from August 2007.
Yeah, we got a good look at the wrestling landscape then. Major stories, big stars like Cena, Orton, Angle, Punk, so many names still relevant.
And we also got that distinct flavor of the online show itself, its hosts, the humor, the chaos. You know, thinking about this old content, over 15 years old now, it really shows you how online commentary was evolving.
Right, and how personalities and stories develop, not just in wrestling itself, but in how fans talked about it online in these kinds of shows.
It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? When you watch old stuff like this, how does it change how you see those stars or segments you remember?
Exactly. Do you notice things you missed back then?
Yeah.
Or maybe, do your experiences now watching today's product or just being online change how you interpret those past performances and characters? Food for thought.
How's it going, everybody? It's Jake from the Down the Middle podcast, and I'm going to take a quick moment to invite you to check out our show, which airs every other Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on YouTube. If you love pro wrestling, you're definitely going to want to check this out. We talk about the latest in pro wrestling.
AEW's pay-per-views are rough, man. And it's obvious, like, Tony Khan is booking for Tony Khan, and it's obvious because Tony Khan has clinical freaking ADHD, but the kind where, like, you can hyper-focus on the thing you love. He's like, I legitimately want to watch wrestling for 7 hours. It's like, Tony.
Now everybody else does.
Hardly anybody else does.
We talk about some of our favorite things in pro wrestling.
One of the best promos ever. Like, can we just say, like, I had fucking goosebumps. And here's the thing, I know it's a work, but I'm watching that and I'm like, I think MJF might have duped somebody.
And we have a hot take here and there, too.
Nothing against Riho, it's just like, do you think the audience is fucking stupid? Riho weighs 98 pounds.
The vast majority of great moments in professional wrestling have nothing to do with the move. Don't get me wrong, the moves are part of it. Cena's like, I don't even remember how I won. Everybody remembers this.
But the best part about our show is that you are part of the conversation. So check out the show and join in the fun.